Here's something you might not know. President Trump's second term has only been going for a little while, and yet the entire direction of his economic agenda could actually hang in the balance right now. We're talking about tariffs, court cases, jobs, and even how much you pay at the store. And guess what? The Supreme Court just fast-tracked a case that could decide whether Trump's tariff strategy is even legal. If they strike it down, some experts say the government may have to refund nearly $1 trillion in tariffs. That's not just politics, that's your wallet. Today we're going to walk through what's happening, what it means, and why it matters for you. Before we get into the details, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like changes in the economy or government decisions directly hit your daily budget? Whether it's groceries, rent, or your retirement plan, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Sharing your experience helps other people see they're not alone. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to keep up with topics like this that affect your money and your future. Now, let's start with the Supreme Court, because this is really the center of everything. Trump has been using a law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, a Cold War-era law that gives the president authority to act during emergencies. He declared something he called Liberation Day back in April and slapped a universal 10% tariff on all imports, raising it even higher for places like China, Mexico, and Canada. The idea was to protect American industries and raise money to cut the federal deficit. But here's the twist. Critics say this law doesn't give him the power to impose tariffs on such a massive scale. Lower courts have already sided with the challengers, saying it's basically giving the president unlimited taxing power without Congress. That's where the Supreme Court steps in. If they rule against him, not only does the tariff plan crumble, but it could also force refunds on those collected tariffs. Imagine the chaos that would cause for both businesses and the government. So then, what's happening on the ground with the economy? The numbers are not looking strong. Only 22,000 jobs were added in August, when experts expected over 70,000. Manufacturing has lost 78,000 jobs this year alone, which is tough, because that's supposed to be the cornerstone of Trump's whole reshoring strategy. And it's hitting specific groups harder. Young people, especially recent graduates, are also struggling to find work. For the first time since 2021, we actually have more unemployed people than job openings. So the job market is soft and families are feeling it. On top of that, federal workforce cuts are happening too. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, has been reducing jobs across agencies. And because a lot of government workers are from minority communities, it's having a bigger impact there. You can see why the pushback is growing louder. And I get it. When your paycheck is at risk or your costs keep going up, it's not just numbers on a page. It's personal. And if you think about it, every one of these pieces connects back to something personal. Whether it's how steady your paycheck feels, what you're paying at the grocery store, or even the future of your retirement savings, these decisions reach far beyond Washington. Now, let's step back and look at what the administration is saying in its defense. They believe this is the path to long-term prosperity. According to their own budget office, these policies will cut the federal deficit in half over the next decade. That's from a projected $31 trillion down to about $15 trillion. And how will they do that? Through reforms like the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This bill tightens Medicaid eligibility, puts more cost sharing on states, adds stricter work requirements for food assistance, and limits student loan forgiveness. They're also counting on tariff revenue, already $136 billion this year, which is more than double last year. And they project $5 trillion over the next decade. So, from their perspective, this isn't just lawful, it's necessary. They're betting big that short-term pain will lead to long-term gain. But let's not ignore what's happening in the markets and at the checkout line. The S&P 500 dropped after the tariffs were rolled out in April, recovered a bit, but hasn't taken off. The US dollar is weaker, bond yields are falling, and inflation is creeping back up. Core prices are up 2.7% year over year, the highest since 2021. And with average import duties around 10%, that usually means higher prices for everyday items. And you know what's strange? People expected lower prices after pandemic disruptions eased, but tariffs flipped that script. Now, folks are seeing surprise charges on things as basic as clothes or appliances. And here's another layer. Trump has been pushing the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. That's a problem if inflation is climbing, because cutting rates too fast could make prices worse. Former Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen even compared it to situations in Turkey and Argentina, where central banks lost independence and inflation spiraled. Her warning was pretty blunt. Americans need to worry about that possibility. And while the economy is shaky, legal resistance is also growing. Groups like Democracy Forward are mobilizing in big numbers. They filed over 100 lawsuits against Trump's policies this term alone. They've challenged everything from the OMB freezing federal grants to secret agreements with other countries about migrant funding. They see this as a fight not just over tariffs, but over the structure of government itself. Whether you agree with them or not, they've already had some wins in court, which shows the administration's path isn't smooth. So, what does this mean for you sitting at home? Well, it depends on how the next few months go. If the Supreme Court upholds Trump's authority, the tariff program continues, and you may feel higher prices in the short run. If they strike it down, there might be refunds or lower costs, but also big uncertainty for businesses that have already adjusted. And either way, the job market and inflation pressures are not going away quickly. That affects how much you pay at the store, how stable your job is, and how confident you feel about the future. The truth is, moments like this don't just decide policy, they shape confidence. And when confidence drops, people spend less, businesses pull back, and the whole economy feels the strain. And polls show Americans are noticing. A majority disapprove of how the economy is being handled. Independents, in particular, are losing faith, and even some are...
This is Elder G. Again. Now, let me talk to you about the perspective of Donald Trump and the scheme that big tech, big pharma, big auto, big space program that ain't gonna do nothing for us, because we never going to the moon, we never going to Mars. It just ain't gonna happen. Just the big rich folks, once they destroyed Earth where you can't grow nothing and all the water's contaminated, they're gonna live out there in space for 15 or 20 years until everything turns back to normal and stuff starts growing again. See, this is a scheme 2025. This is a scheme. This is how it works. This is how it works. See, the people in America is not gonna own their own. The majority of the people is not gonna own their own. Declare Donald Trump a king, or to declare Donald Trump a dictator. See, he can't do it by himself. See, he need the Supreme Court. He need the DOJ. He need the Homeland Security. He need the CIA, and you know, he need the Attorney General. He need all of these people, and he need big tech because he need the money. See, these multimillionaires and billionaires, they don't care what the economy. They don't care if the economy crashes, because if the economy crashes for the multi-billionaires and the multi-millionaires, it doesn't mean nothing. It just means that they get to buy up everything, all the land, all your power companies, all your food supply is going to be from Bill Gates, from Warren Buffett, from Apple CEO Tim Cook. Those are going to be the only people that own land. So all the poor people, just to get food, just like in Egypt, when Joseph became second in charge, where the people came to get food, they had to give Egypt their land. So when Egypt get all the land, and the oligarchy own all the land, the normal people ain't gonna be nothing but slaves. I'm not talking about in chains. I'm talking about you can't get no food unless you go to the oligarchy. Because you ain't got no land to plant no food on. See, that's why Donald Trump is trying to crash the economy, right? So he got the money there that he collected from the tariffs, but all the tariff money that he is collecting right now is illegal. See, it's not in his power for him to do that. But he gonna do it anyway. And he gonna make the price of milk and eggs and bread and to buy houses, to buy cars, all that kind of stuff is gonna skyrocket. Only the rich people and the people that support him and being a king or a dictator, they're the only one that's going to be supplied. And every time a farm go broke, the dictator people is going to buy it up. Cause that's why you went broke. Because you didn't have no money to save your own farm. You didn't have no money to keep your car from being repossessed. You ain't got no money to go to school. That's why he cut the grants. You ain't got no money to go to school, even though you got the grades. So, and then he putting everything. See, he couldn't do this until he put the no good dictator Supreme Court into play. The 6 justices, the MAGA. See, they couldn't do nothing until it took 50 years for them to do it. It took over 50 years for them to knock down Roe v. Wade. Now, the next step is democracy. You see, when this case goes to the Supreme Court about the tariffs, decide if they legal or not. If the Supreme Court declare what Donald Trump did to be legal, that means that Donald Trump is a king. See, the Supreme Court, if they side with Trump, they crown Trump king. Because the United States is going to be bankrupt because Donald Trump is holding all the tariff money illegally. So without that over $1 trillion to pay the debt, America is going to default on their bill, and the people going to be hollering and screaming, come out, oh God, oh my Lord Trump, God, all praises be to Trump, all praises be to the Supreme Court, all praises to the House, all praises to the Senate. Don't you see it, America? The Supreme Court with the tariffs is going to decide, is America broke and bankrupt, or Donald Trump is a king? Mark my word. Just remember this video. If the Supreme Court said that tariff and all illegal stuff that Trump did is okay, we are no more a democracy. We are a dictatorship, and Trump won, and the MAGA won, and the racist people won.